Now, this next guest for Radio Detox hardly needs an introduction. They are Right Said Fred. I am interested in talking to them today because they are truly independent, and we love that. Right Said Fred, welcome to Radio Detox.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
Hey, Heather, how are you?
Thank you.
Good. It's good to have you guys. Now, where are you right now?
We're about...
What, spiritually you mean, or geographically?
Yeah. Either way. We can go either way on Radio Detox.
Okay, spiritually pretty centered. Geographically, about just under an hour outside London.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. It's so good to talk to you guys when you're across the pond.
Oh,
now, what are you up to? Because you guys are so busy. Like, I'm grabbing you right in the middle of summer touring. Like, what's the latest thing that you have done? Where am I catching you?
Well, we've actually did our last festival last weekend, which was the Brecon Festival, Summer's End Festival in Brecon, which is in Scotland. And that was last Saturday, exactly a week ago today. And now we're back in the studio as of next week. We've got a bunch of... We tend to put interviews into blocks because we get quite a few requests and we find it easier to do them sort of together. So we're doing interviews this week and we start the studio the following week. And also, for bizarre reasons, we're getting approached by record labels again.
Oh my goodness, really?
Who would have thought it?
Yes, we are. We've had quite a few approaches by major labels in the last few years, and we don't really feel very comfortable in that sort of environment, as nice as they are. And recently we've been approached by a couple of independents. So we are talking to them, and we don't know how that will go. Maybe, we'll go and see them, have a chat and see where we are, So that's kind of where we are.
There's a renewed interest now in Right Said Fred.
We get approached by record companies about once a year, something like that. Once every 18 months, because they first of all,
I think they check our medical records just to make sure we're alive.
Yeah, I think some of it's fairly disingenuous. What they want is to get their hands on some the rights of the old material. Yeah. So we can smell that fairly early on, and you can tell by the sort of conversations you have. We're not particularly bothered about. People say, well, one guy said to us, we'll put you back as a household name. We don't want to be a household name.
Like Bleach.
So we found that initially when the band kicked off, we found it all a bit uncomfortable. And people often say to us, oh, they were the good years. Really, they were very lucrative, and we don't regret any of it. But we've had lots of good years since then. And it depends how you define good and what makes it good for you. And I think people... they think fame is good, they think money is good, and I'm not knocking either of those things. Everything in small amounts, in my opinion. Yeah,
we've had more fun recently doing the live shows, actually. Yeah. That's been the most fun for ages, actually. The thing about recording stuff is that there's no immediate comeback. There's no immediate reaction. When you're doing a show, there's the audience is right in front of you. You can see if a number's working or it isn't, and if they like you or they don't. But when you're recording, doing it in a sort of vacuum, it's very difficult to do that. And I remember watching Sinatra years ago doing on a soundstage, and he said you have to try and remember that the audience is in front of you when you're doing a soundstage, and that's true. You can either do that or you can't. And I find it much easier when the audience is actually there. And also we found we can be a lot more experimental when we do stuff live. We don't have to pass it by A&R. We don't have to pass it by a manager or publisher or anything else. We can just have fun with ideas. And if the people out front like it, then that's all we care about.
Yeah, we've had a success this year with a song called Raise Your Hands. That's done very well and was featured in FIFA World Cup as well. And we haven't played it live before, so we thought, let's add that to the set. So we added it this summer. And the minute the song starts, the chorus starts, Raise Your Hands, literally they've got their hands in the air, and that this song is communicating, it's working. And we've had other songs. We've got a song that we love called I Love My Car, which has been quite successful with commercials. And we played that live, and it dies a death.
We decided,
it does nothing.
I worry with that, they all turn around and go to the car park.
Yes.
And leave.
They miss their cars.
And miss the car, yes. Yeah. So, but Fred's right, yes, it's been really good fun, actually. And we're working with a drummer that's changed the way we feel about what we do. We're looking for a bass player right now for the festivals next year. So that's all bit. I don't know. I think Fred enjoys shows more than he lets on. I really like them.
No, I really enjoy shows. Well, it's that Charlie Watts thing. He was asked about 25 years with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been 20 years of waiting and 5 years of playing.
And that's
and touring is like that. So you get to the hotel, and you sit around and then you may go to bike tweet or you may do some press. And then you're on stage for, if it's a festival, maybe like an hour or something. And then you're waiting again for the car to pick you up and you're waiting at the airport.
Pretty crap.
And so there's lots of ways. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this is how it is. And also the way when we first started, it was much easier because particularly going to the States, I mean, since I think it was ramped up in Trump's first term, he's changed the amount that we have to pay.
Visa costs, yeah.
So the visa costs for Europe. The visa cost for a UK artist going to America, I think, is about 12 times the cost of a US artist coming to the UK. Yeah. So I think the idea was Trump's idea and other politicians before him and no doubt after him is, well, we want to try and save American jobs because, well, it doesn't work like that because bands don't go and suddenly, an English band won't go and suddenly say, oh, we'll hire American musicians and crew. You don't do that.
You bring your crew with them.
You go with your own people. Yeah. So that's been difficult. So we were off some US shows, and because of the visa cost for everybody, you need to have a good run to make the visa costs kind of make sense. And also flying in Europe's become much more difficult since they've gone truly biometric, where you have to do your fingerprints and your eye scan and so everything just takes time.
Europe is a nightmare.
Yeah. So lots of bands are kind of figuring out, well, maybe, and people say, well, do a bus tour. Well, that's all very well, but buses aren't available as like they used to be because lockdown killed touring. So loads of bus companies went under. And so bus companies now, you have to do a minimum of 3 days. And so if you've got one or two gigs, you've still got to pay for 3 days. So since COVID, since lockdown, the whole dynamic of touring has changed a lot. I won't bore you with any more of that, but it has. And so I have this discussion with people, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, because the dynamics have changed. And I saw there's a band called Wolf Mother. A good band, Wolf Mother, a rock band. And they're touring in Europe at the moment. And people say, why aren't you coming here? And why aren't you coming there? And they didn't want to say. The guy said, oh, we're next time, and all this sort of stuff. But that's the reality of it. You're dealing with some very, very tiny margins that you can operate in. Unless you're doing stadiums or very big shows. If you're doing festivals and sort of smaller sort of arenas, you have to watch the pennies because it's pretty. It's always been tight. Before you had much more wiggle room. Actually, I never used to look at the numbers. We knew we were making good money touring. We just did it. I never really used to think about it. It's in the last 4 or 5 years. I'm still like, my Lord.
Also, I think a lot of artists thought that Brexit would make it more difficult. It's made no difference to us at all.
Not to us, no.
Not to us. Brexit has made no difference. Some people think that it's a bit inconvenient to have to queue up in that row as opposed to that row. And it's, well, if that's your big problem, then you don't really have a big problem. For us, it's been really, really simple. Actually, it is actually the EU's obsession with data harvesting and control that's becoming increasingly onerous. It's really getting boring.
Yeah. We were talking to an American lady who was behind us in Germany, I think it was.
Yeah,
she was in Lisbon, and they took 6 hours to get through passport control. So it was, So she wasn't very impressed with you.
When we were kids, we lived and worked in New York for a bit, and it was actually incredibly easy.
Yeah, it was.
It was incredibly easy. America then was so welcoming, really, really welcoming. Same as Europe. I mean, it was very, very. It was easy to go. It was people there were very friendly, and it was a real eye-opener for us. And I remember we came back after our trip in New York, and we were sitting in Leicester Square in London on a Saturday night, and we both looked at each other thinking, what night is it? It can't be Saturday because it's so quiet, because New York was buzzing, really buzzing back then. And it's a shame when you let politicians mess things up. You put politicians in the mix and it all goes pear-shaped, always.
Yes. Sorry, we've been rattling on. Sorry about that.
We won't, we'll stop now.
That's okay. Well, I know you guys are politically active.
Yes.
And you've definitely been canceled over the years. And it's one of those things where I think that maybe you wouldn't have had the longevity or the career you have had if you'd been tied to a record label this entire time.
Possibly.
Like they would have tried to, control you or sanitize you, I guess. Is that the right way to say it?
I think it's possible. I remember there was a TV show. My partner at the time was very, very ill, and we had a TV show coming up. And I remember saying that I just can't do it because I was all over the place, worried about him. And the record company said, well, if you don't do this show, you'll never work again. And that's what you're up against when you're talking with Ron. When Fred was ill, some years later, really ill, we had to cancel a TV in Germany. And the record company said, can you send us some pictures of Fred in the hospital bed? They didn't believe us.
Yeah, I was in ICU.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
that's what you're dealing with.
That
That's
had
cruel.
then I had sepsis, and they said, yeah, this is we need confirmation, so we don't get sued. Can you send a picture of Fred in bed?
Fred in bed.
Wow.
Yeah,
It has
You're on
been
death's door and they're like, but our bottom line, like.
exactly.
Yeah.
So working independently has been, as Fred said earlier, it's been economically trying, but it has been emotionally releasing. I mean, it has been much more fun.
Yeah, you have to decide where your priorities are. I mean, we realised very early on that being famous wasn't really. We understand it comes with the territory.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's all right.
It is nice.
But we became, certainly in the UK, we became celebrities beyond musicians. And that wasn't really something we'd ever planned for or wanted, we weren't interested in it. So we would get, with people outside our houses, and we couldn't, some restaurants, it was difficult to go there. And that's not how we live. We're very neighborhood people. We wander around. I go to the gym, I sit in cafes. We don't do that. We've never had, in fact, in America, we sent our security away. We don't do security. We don't need it. We don't like the look.
I think we need it now.
Yeah, we need it, but we actually need it more now.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on sort of the artist you are. Some artists I don't think they think that they exist unless there's a camera pointing at them. I think some artists feel that. I think they feel invisible unless they see themselves on social media, this or that. And I remember we were talking to some PR company or some analyst in 94, 93, and they said, apart from Princess Diana, you're the most photographed Brits in the world. And I just thought, that's horrible. It's not good.
There's only one way to go.
That's not a good thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah, okay. And some people, it's
Also,
it depends what you want. It really does.
Yeah.
And we have this argument, not argument between ourselves, but record companies think, and I think some audiences think that all artists want the same thing, and they just don't. They just don't. Some people want to be really famous, really rich, and they'll do anything for that. And other artists take a different view. That's all it is. There's no right or wrong.
Also, with going back to the cancelling thing, in a way, we got used to being cancelled right at the very beginning. It wasn't just COVID. It wasn't just the woke thing or DEI. It wasn't just it. This happened for us ages before. We were cancelled partly, I think, because of I'm Too Sexy. Partly because of that, because it was seen as not serious. It was seen as funny and silly, and that we were very lucky to have had it written for us. So we were seen as a bit of a fake, I think. And as a consequence, we weren't taken seriously by the industry. And despite the fact we had a number one album in the UK, number one in America, and number one in 26 other countries. When the Brits came up in the UK, we were just completely sidelined. And the Mercury Awards, yes. We got used to that pretty quickly, actually. So that it wouldn't be right to say we've been cancelled recently. We've actually been cancelled, certainly in the UK, but probably since about 92, actually.
Yes, that is true. I think it kind of depends. Sometimes you fit, it's like when you go to a party or a club or anything, if you walk in, you think, oh, this feels good, this feels right. And when we became in the music business, we just thought, nah, this is not right for us. We do not fit. And we've spoken to a few bands who feel that as well. I won't mention who they are because they don't want that to be said. What I can say about Michael Hutchence, we used to know quite well.
Yeah, I like Mike.
From In Excess.
Nice guy.
And he used to say the same thing. He said, I just don't feel this is, I don't feel like I belong sometimes. It's like you put on a coat or a jacket. It's just not right.
Yeah.
And that's what he said to us. I don't know how, if he said that's how he felt all the time, but that's how he felt when we were talking to him. And I think it's I think it's just it's the personality of the people, isn't it?
Having said that, I have seen, because Fred's been playing some old footage, I have seen some of the footage from back in the very early days and what we were wearing. And I have to say, if I was a music journalist looking at that, I would think, cancel that swine right now, because he's obviously an idiot. So in a way, there's a side of me which thinks, well, I can't really blame them. We were coming across as a right couple of knobs.
In terms of, we pushed our luck, but we knew we were.
Yeah, that was the fun of it.
Yeah,
that was the fun.
Yeah, the adverts were great. The mesh T-shirts and.
Well, we used to dress a bit like that because we were into the whole fetish scene for a while. So we used to go to Skin 2 and Submission, a few of those things. And so we had those clothes anyway. And then when we grew up with the Tubes and early David Bowie and that glam rock thing. And so Roxy Music. And so dressing a bit ridiculous was kind of It's what we grew up with. So we didn't think it was that weird. It's only when other people started reacting, we were thinking, we just thought,
and also we had a stylist who wasn't stuck up.
Yes,
our early stylist was very, very open. Both the stylist we had in the UK and the stylist we had in Germany are two separate people, but they were both very relaxed about clothes. They weren't trying to dress us up as serious musicians. They weren't trying to dress us up as anything other than let's have a bit of fun with what you're wearing. And Michael Eckstein, the guy in Germany, if he had bought a shirt and didn't think it looked right, he'd just cut bits off it. You'd buy a shirt for something like, €1,000 or something, and he'd just cut the sleeves off or cut the cuffs off or whatever. So it's always been that was always, for us, it was always just have a bit of fun with it. That's what it was. And we could, as Fred said, we were surprised when other people started getting a little bit, sort of tetchy about it and a bit sort of dismissive of it. And then, of course, we had the whole Britpop thing where it became, serious and, furrowed brows and shoegazing and all that. And we just didn't fit in at all, so.
I think we just wound some bands up the wrong way. I remember there was a studio in London called Swan Yard, which we did some stuff at. And the Charlatans were in one of the other studios, and they actually complained to the studio owners that they had to share the studio services with Right Said Fred. They actually complained, and that's kind of, yeah. And I remember the owner came up to us and said, "Look, we've had this bizarre complaint. How do you feel about that?" So we just, well, they can go fuck off. I don't care. So, yeah, and so we've had it for a while. But interestingly, some of the much bigger bands, the people we've met, have never been like that. They've been very approachable, really accepting, very nice, very complimentary. We met Prince and Paul McCartney and all sorts of people have been extremely kind to us. And so it's normally the band's a bit sort of down the rung a bit. They've been a bit odd with us. And we don't really take it notice anymore. I mean, people are weird. What can people probably think we're weird? Maybe, I don't know. What can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You could do about it.
Oh, yeah.
You're probably doing things for the right reasons so that, that lower vibe doesn't get to you, that like pettiness,
Well, that's why, that's what I was saying earlier about the live thing. What's really good about that is we can try things and do things without having to pass it by anybody.
Yeah.
That's what's really, really refreshing. We don't have to send the arrangement of a track for live to a label or a manager and ask, what do they think? I'm not interested in what they think. And 9 times out of 10, musicians who are at the front line, who stand on stage and deliver, they're the ones that know what they're doing. Behind the desk, sometimes they know what they're doing, but a lot of the time they think they know what they're doing, and they think they know the audience, they think they know the demographic, but actually it's as much a mystery to them as it is to everybody else.
So true. Now, you guys, you value freedom. You value being able to do things your way, independently, saying what you want to say, not being canceled or kicked off of anything. So I found that you guys have turned up on Fountain, which is an app that I really like for both music and podcasting, and you have 3 songs on there. You have I'm a Celebrity, and you have Cherry Cherry, and you have Lord Have Mercy on there. What brought you to a place like Fountain and what got you to put your music there?
Aaron, who's the guy that introduced us to Primal and Fountain. It was Aaron. He said, let's have a meet, let's have a chat. So we did, and it's been very, very accepting. It's a great format, great platform. It doesn't have the negativity of a lot of other social media platforms. So we enjoy them. We need to put a new track up there. We've been a bit slack. We've been on the road, so we'll put a track up in the next couple of weeks. But it's been good to us. We have met people like you and met loads of other nice people on there, chit chat, and there doesn't seem to be a great deal of judging going on.
Exactly. There's no A&Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we grew up and we played all through the late 70s and 80s, we knew friends, we knew musician friends who were, you've got the political spectrum, and some would be right of centre, some would be left of centre. It was never an issue. That would never get in the way of you just playing. No. Never. And now it does. And I find that shift quite peculiar, that you'd care about somebody's political position if you're actually just going to work with them musically.
Also, the saddest thing is music is meant to unify people.
Yes.
It's meant to bring people together. It's not meant to separate us. So when you get an idiot like Bob Villan at Glastonbury, that's all about separation. His whole thing was about separation and division, and encouraging people to think that the people who didn't agree with him or his position were somehow beyond the pale. Our thing, when we go on stage, we never talk politics, ever. It's all about just the music. And it's all about, when I look out front, I don't care whether they're jabbed, unjabbed, left, right, communist, Muslim. I don't care what they are. Really don't care. Only thing that matters is, are they having a good time? Can we give them a good time? And that's what I think. That's what music should be, ideally.
Yeah. How do we get back to that where we can have completely different political, religious, whatever, and we can still get together and have a good time? Because that was what a music festival or going to a dance show, that was what it was about. How can we bring ourselves back to getting along and having civility? Because it's not just an American thing or a European thing.
Not. No.
It's like a virus that's infected the whole world, where we people decide that someone who doesn't agree with them is like you said, beyond the pale. They're wrong. They're terrible. They're this. They're that. They need to be canceled. And how can we get back to just having a good time and getting along again?
I don't know. I mean,
I actually don't know. We had a Zoom meeting with a PR guy in New York, and his opening gambit. And I'm not a Trump fan. I don't keep my opening gambit was, I think you should know, I fucking hate Trump. I'm going.
That was his defining feature.
His social connector, right? Like if you will like me, if I don't like this, and we both don't like the same thing, is such a weird thing now.
I saw an interview with Elon Musk, and he said he was at a dinner party, and he said it was a very, very elegant, well-behaved, probably quite expensive, I would think, him being the richest man in the world. But he said it was a very nice dinner party until somebody around the table said the word Trump, at which point it became increasingly acidic, and everybody started shouting and rounding each other. So I don't know your question, how we get back. My personal belief is that anybody that's against freedom of expression is a problem. That's what I think. Freedom and the people in the West have not vocalized that commitment to freedom of expression and freedom of research and all the other things that we've got used to. We haven't extolled the virtues of those anything like strong enough. It's a shame the way it's. I'm not a Trump fan either, but I think it's a shame the way it's gone with Trump, because he came in on a wave of goodwill, really. I mean, the people who supported him the first term, and then this whole thing with Iran has just completely tarnished whatever legacy he was hoping to have. It seems to me, I might be wrong, but that's how it seems to me.
It's weird. In the UK, it's weird. We've got a big left-right divide. And people aren't really interested in reaching across the aisle. People don't want to chat. Oh, why do you think that? And they just seem to shout at each other. And so I've changed my position on social media in terms of that. And also, we get called activists. We're not really activists. We're just a bit more than, because we're in control. We've never had media training, and some artists do. We've never had that. And so we just tend to say what we think. And sometimes that's got us in trouble. The thing during the whole lockdown thing, our position, people, you're anti-vax. No, I'm not anti-vax. I'm just pro-freedom of expression. I'd like to be able to choose what goes into my body.
Yeah, also, we grew up at a time when having a point of view wasn't particularly controversial.
Right.
It just didn't matter. It didn't matter really what you thought. And also, most people, maybe it's the same in America. Back in the day, people knew there would be disagreements about some basics, like, defense spending or, social care or whatever it is. But at the bottom line was that we all agreed about some fundamentals: freedom of speech, freedom of expression, liberty, blah, blah, blah. That has all changed now.
It has, yeah.
That has all changed.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. How we get back there, I don't know. I just think that we should certainly be looking, both in America and elsewhere, we should be looking for politicians to have the nuts to stand up and defend freedom of speech. That's an expression. That
would be great. Do you have problems with, because I've seen you share on Twitter, and you have no problem sharing political things or funny things that, seem like maybe they would get downvoted or muted or, hidden by the algorithm. Do you have that experience on traditional social media?
I think we've been shadow banned, haven't we?
We've been shadow banned a few times. But you can run tests, which I do occasionally. I don't know how. Someone said they're not effective under them since Elon Musk took over X because he's smart. And I don't know if that's true. Some get really good traction, some don't. Certainly on other platforms, our traction has gone up in recent years. Engagement's gone up in recent years. I think sometimes, opinions, we don't think we've shifted. We've always been we think we've been fairly consistent, but the world around people shifts, and that happens all the time. And I'll give you one very quick example. We helped organise the first vaccine injured event in London, and it was to support who have been vaccine injured, and it sold out. It was about 1,000 people, sold out, I think, in the afternoon or something. Really, really successful. The Guardian newspaper came along and reviewed it, and they called it an anti-vax event. But the whole event was people who were injured by vaccines, not anti-vax. They're concerned what this has done to them. So you can't sometimes you're just shouting into an abyss, and sometimes I have the energy for that, sometimes I don't. And at the moment, we're very preoccupied with the band. And my tweets and my other stuff tend to be a bit less, a bit less focused on cultural, political things. Also, the political thing I'm pretty tired of, because I'm a bit slow. I've been a bit slow to come to this realization that they're just gaslighting us, clickbait. All the political posts are clickbait and they're gaslighting. It's taken me a while for that penny to drop. So I've backed off that bit, because they're just looking for traction, and it's not. I don't want to give them traction.
No, I've cancelled my X account and cancelled my Facebook. I've cancelled them both, not because I don't enjoy commenting, because I do. I think I'm probably more political than Fred, but I just got tired of the negativity. I got really bored with all the vile negativity, and that's this. I don't want to sound like some post-dated hippie from Haight Ashbury or somewhere. You know what I mean? But it was bad for my. It was serious. If we go out on stage and we're determined to have a good time and entertain people, you can't go on stage feeling all negative about all this other stuff. It's just not. You have, yeah. And I think, some politicians and some commentators obviously bury themselves in this stuff all the time, and I admire them for that, because I couldn't do what Zia Youssef is doing for reform. I couldn't do the Nigel Farage thing. I couldn't do the Rupert Lowe thing, because it would get me down. The constant brickbats that get thrown at you, that would really affect me in a negative way. We have to prioritize what we're doing as a band over and above everything else, despite how we feel.
Also, sometimes you can't win. You could go, "What a beautiful day it is today."
No, it's not.
You racist.
You racist.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
It's like, right? They come up with that. Now, which channels, like which platforms are non-toxic and also like successful for you, in that they get you engagement and like you actually feel like you're getting something out of them and they're a positive experience?
Most of our Facebook stuff with the band is fine. I like Fountain Primal. I like that that platform. Twitter is just a petri dish of madness, isn't it? We have someone who helps us with all our socials. So no doubt they do help us all the socials. We don't tend to do Twitter. Or Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. That's run by
Chinese.
That's run by Alexi. We sort of pitch in with our content. Any stuff that gets us in trouble is always us. But Alexi does a very, very good job, at keeping the music stuff.
That's great.
That sort of like content, band content stuff. A lot.
Also, it's not difficult to get yourself in trouble these days.
It's very easy.
It's really, we know a guy who's been in prison for 3 or 4 years already for a dodgy tweet.
Social media.
It is. And when we went to a demonstration back in the early days in Trafalgar Square, basically just to see what it was like. I'd never been to a demo. I'm not a demo type. I think being in a demonstration is profoundly un-English. I don't really. Stop that. You're making a noise and you're upsetting the dogs. So leave them alone. So we didn't do that. So, but we went along just to see what it was like. And a couple of political commentators over here threw their toys out the pram. Piers Morgan went mad. We were suddenly persona non grata. And that was a real surprise to us, because we thought, well, actually just going to a demo to have a look. What is that? So that's when the veil fell away for us, and we began to see where it was all going. And then, of course, the UK went through this very, very weird place through the whole COVID-19 thing and the lockdown. For us, we lost about 1.5 to 2 years of gigs. We lost a movie. We lost a couple of adverts. We lost a lot of stuff. Certainly lost a lot more than most politicians lost, I would guess.
Right. You just became the scapegoat for everything, right?
Exactly.
So, but I mean, it has it's 6 years ago now, and for us, it's changed now, and we are getting more offers than we have been getting in recent years. The releases we do have performed much better. And like I said, we've got labels approaching us. So clearly there's a shift because we haven't really changed our position. So I think there's a general shift of let's leave that there and let's move on. I think there's a bit of that.
Yeah. Also, people are so used to BS. They're so used to politicians lying. They're so used to double speak and all that. I think it always benefits you when you're just frank. Just be fairly honest. I mean, it's like me trying to pretend I'm married. It's not good, It's, no, do you know what I mean? So you've just got to speak the truth as much as you can without hurting people. Yeah.
Now you guys are being on Fountain and being on Primal is a different experience because, it's a little more positive. Nobody's going to cancel you or take you down. And you can also receive Bitcoin for the things you say and the music that you post. Has this made you Bitcoiners or Bitcoin curious at all?
Sadly, it wasn't 2017. That would have been much nicer. So I'm not a trader. So I have tried day trading. I lasted about 5 hours. I thought I was going to kill myself. So I'm not one of those guys. I've got a small amount of coins, small amount of money, and I put profit loss, goes on. Then I go back to it once or twice a week, see what I've done. Sometimes I reinvest, sometimes I cash out. So I know a little bit, but I get there's a friend of mine who's very knowledgeable. Trades professional.
Does it also give you like a way to have more of a one-to-one relationship with fans since you could see comments on Fountain or you could see people's app on Primal?
Yeah, it's important not to be dazzled by compliments as well. It's important to be, it's nice to, if somebody likes a track, it's nice to if somebody likes the guitar or the voice or whatever it is, but it's important to stay at a distance, if you like, so that you're still in touch with what you want to do rather than what other people want you to do.
And sometimes it's very confusing. You'll come off stage thinking we were great, and actually the audience reception wasn't that great.
That hasn't happened lately.
Lately. No. We had a very good run this summer. Sometimes you come off stage and you think we were on it, and then but you think actually no, the audience really didn't get it.
Like sex, actually.
And then other times you don't have a very good show, and you come off and go, that was great. I think sometimes it's good. I can't remember who said it, but if you can take compliments and insults in the same way, that's an interesting. That would be a pretty centered, balanced person who could do that.
Yeah,
I struggle with that.
It's like that episode in Frasier, isn't it? When he obsesses about the one person who can't stand him.
Yes, that's right.
When they do a focus group, same thing.
Lastly, we've got about 2 minutes left here. I just wanted to ask, what's your advice for musicians who would like to go down the independent artist road and never get tied to a record label or a performance rights organization?
What I would say is I wouldn't have a hard and fast, just go from our experience. So the way we've worked and the way we've tried to make it work is we've had a foot in both sides of the conversation. So, for example, we've never signed an artist deal with a major label. We've never done that, but we have worked very tightly with major labels because we've done label servicing, we've done licensing deals, and we've done. So we had a 2-album deal with BMG. They were fantastic. We've done projects with Universal, wasn't so great. And in other countries, so we would release something here independently, but we then so-and-so, Virgin or whoever, would pick it up abroad. So you have to try and what's good for the track, what's good for you, and how can you make it work? And also try and hang on to your song. Now, that was a song that we own. We own it 100%. All round, and I'm not saying anything great's going to happen with it, but it was successful when it was released, and now maybe it'll get picked up. So you have to try and balance it. And if a label comes along and says, "Oh, we want to do something," you go, "Well, what's good for us, and what can we make work?" And it's however it works for you. There's no right or wrong, and there's no hard, fast right and wrong. So,
also, it's back to that whole thing about why are you doing it?
Yeah, what do you want?
Because if you want fame and glory and the red carpet and the media boards, you're going to need a major label, and you're going to have to kiss ass. Basically, that's what you're going to have to do. If you are prepared to take the knocks that come with being independent for the benefit of holding on to your stuff and being more freer to create what you want to create, then that's the decision you'll have to make. But having a foot into both camps is ideal, but not always possible. Yeah, so you just have to be very honest with yourself about what you want. We realized we weren't dazzled by fame or big money. enough to not be independent. We knew how, right at the very beginning, we knew that this was not exactly, being number one wasn't the big hit that I thought it was going to give me.
Yeah, and we were when Sexy broke, particularly in America, we got sort of found ourselves in rooms with some incredibly famous people, and wanted to talk and go out and do this, and I wasn't dazzled by it.
They're just people.
Yeah, and I just thought,
And
some people we met, they're famous, and we thought, well, they seem quite nice, so we'd go out and have a drink or whatever. But it wasn't something I thought, oh God, this is great, I'm going to meet so-and-so. I didn't really care. And I just wanted to be on the road, really, playing and in the studio. Silly.
I would have felt ill if we'd met Frank Sinatra that night. Frank Sinatra and Elvis.
Yeah.
Also, that's true.
Yeah. We went to see Frank Sinatra play in the Albert Hall in 92.
We took Mum.
And we had we were sharing the same security at the time. So sometimes Frank Sinatra stops at this green room after the show for a quick whiskey. So we'll you come down to the green room, you just sit there, and he might pop in, he might not. And that night he didn't. But
we were there.
Yeah, I think I would have been awestruck with him, or certain like, oh wow, okay, that's it, that's weird, But I play guitar, which played bass with David Bowie, and I played guitar for Bob Dylan, and it's great. They're lovely people, were lovely to us. But I never felt that I'm in the presence of something. I'm just it
is just people, I think, and
either nice or not.
Yeah, exactly. And the common denominator is music.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's what gives it all. It makes it all make sense, really.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Richard and Fred Fairbrass. So good to talk to you guys today and get your point of view on the music business and being an independent artist and social media, getting canceled. So many good things that you guys had to say. I really appreciate your time and let you get back to your tour now. Thank you so much.
Turn on the air conditioning, I would suggest.
Yes, it came on a couple of times. I had to mute it a couple of times. Mute the background noise. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope you have a fantastic summer day there.